Howdy, hey, Spaceman Josh here, and welcome back to Prison Architect. So, when I tried recording the first episode of this new series, um, Ed Kenway did escape, and I'm going to try to see if I can get that sort of recording in here somehow. There was a big issue with the speed demon getting to me again, and with the frame rate was a little bit lower than what I wanted it to be, and the speed demon, it kind of wasn't a good video to be able to put up here. So I'm going to try to see if I can get some clips up in between now and when I actually start playing to show you that Ed Kenway did escape, and that, so for Season 2, the main mode we're doing it is normal, the building mode, um, for what's called Warden mode. And I also have on permadeath for Warden mode, if any of you know what that means. So I essentially have to build the prison while I'm also in the view of the Warden. It's essentially similar to escape mode from what I can tell, but the only difference is that you're the Warden building the prison instead of trying to escape. I saw a building over here. I sort of played with this button. Allows you to see the sort of your clipboard. You have a clipboard of some sort. You have an actual inventory. A new command I've never seen is roll call. A few other things, but all in all, it looks like it'll be an interesting time. I have a little bit easier settings for this because I've never played Warden mode, and I'll do the hard settings for Season 3 when I actually play the game, as most people play it. So I'm actually moving around as a Warden. So, first things you always want to do in terms of building a prison is planning it. Planning a prison is always one of your number one priorities. I always start with placing reception, sort of in the middle here, and then from the one, if you notice, I'll pause this real quick. I can still plan in pause mode, but if you look up here, so we'll read the CEO's letter. You can read that if you want to. I've read it 100 times at least. There you go, chance to pause it and read it. And so one of the things is accept your first grant and prisoner intake. We're not going to take any prisoners in this next, I think it's every 8 o'clock. Oh, 800, yeah, 800 hours. Is when prisoners come in. If you have them assigned to come in, I always leave it closed and have all these ratios sort of up here, so that way they all start filling up with numbers. But I don't want any yet. And let's actually go ahead and accept my first grant, because that's what I'm going to do. Grants. Basic Detention Center. And we can accept no more than 2 at a time, so we'll also do Administration Center. So this will be the holding cell. And then let's go ahead and sort of build this sort of hallway and start building this stuff. So I will actually start building a cell block. That way we can sort of get the idea of how things are going to go. I always build the holding cell, and then I also have plans for cell blocks, just because you want one of the buildings you have to do is, shower, kitchen, and canteen. And all 3 of those I try to, if, money and space permits, in individual cell blocks sort of deal, especially in the beginning. So that's where we're trying to put the holdings up, and then I have cell blocks. So if you haven't been able to notice quite yet, I'm not building actual cells. Normal cells are about that big in the beginning, but I'm actually going to be building dorm cells, sort of dormitories. So I'm going to go ahead and continue this right there. So this will be where the shower will be. I need it to be 4 by 8, like that. And so each one of these dormitories will hold 8 people. Yeah, they'll each hold. No, they each hold 4, I think. Yeah, they each hold 4. So essentially there will be 8, 16, 4, and then that's a 4, so it will be 32. And then having a 4 by 8 over here will allow for 32 showers. And then we can sort of have the entry into the canteen. So like that for right now, and go into objects mode. So 32 people, that's the equivalent of having 4 tables. No. Yeah. 4 tables. Let's go ahead and try placing down the plans for 4 tables. 3, and let's have a special table for the cool prisoners. That's the cool prisoners table. And then we go, leave a space of 2. And then 5 by 1 for the actual where the food will be. So this will be an opening, and this will be an opening, and this will be what the kitchen is. So we'll go ahead and place 2 cookers per serving table, and then I like to try having 2 fridges for every cooking thing, just so that way for there's a certain grant that it helps to have that. And this will be a sink. Go ahead and go to finish this off. And then this will be sort of a cleaning area for janitors, or whatever I need it to be, just that's there for something. And so, this dude can sprint, cool. So this sort of is all the stuff set out for the canteen and the kitchen and the cleaning area, which is nice. So I'll go ahead and start planning the administrative center and the yard. Those sort of want to be sort of planned together. So I'll go ahead and I'm thinking through this. And what I can do is with this, I can make that way I can turn these into a couple more solitary if need be. It's just the right size for having 6 more solitary. But I'll go ahead and start placing plans for the offices. This is sort of a 5 on the inside. So normally offices would only have to be 4 by 4, but I have these being 5 by 5. So, like that. And there's this. This is 11. So we'll take this all the way out to the end of the dormitories, like that. 11 by 23, that is 253 for 32 prisoners. That's, I'd say, probably about 2 1/3 squares for every prisoner, give or take. Probably closer, about 2.5. So now we have this, and then we can extend the rest of this over this way, and then we can go like that, and sort of have this. This can be a 8 by 6 for a chapel. Actually, no, we won't do that. We'll let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9, 10. So we'll have, actually let's do one more. 11. So this is solitary enough, or 11 solitary. Because this will be split up in between both the subblock above and below for a nice expansion. So that would be actually 64. So, yeah, who cares? I'm not going to do that math again. You can do it if you want. So this will be 6 by 10, or 6 by 8, sorry. And this will be 11 by 8. So this will be a common room. This will be the chapel. But, oh, nope, wrong, right there. And then I'll have this sort of, let's go ahead and put it there. And so the yard will be right here, chapel, and a solitary. And then we'll go ahead and try to place this equidistance between both cell blocks once the second cell block's built. There is the alarm for this episode's Nerd Alert. I'm gonna go ahead and pause it here. Okay, so I could tell that my sort of speed demon is getting to me a little bit again. I'm not too worried though, it doesn't seem to be any sort of significant. So, significance. So, for this episode's nerd alert, essentially what I have to say is sort of a correction from for something I said in the past. So, I know that in one of the previous nerd alerts, I mentioned that Saturn has the most moons in the solar system. I was actually wrong. It's been recently retaught to me that Jupiter is still the planet with the most moons. Even before, if we added 12 to that list, Jupiter was still the one with the most. So currently, Jupiter has 79 moons, and Saturn has 62. So, I was wrong. So, Jupiter has more moons than Saturn, and so Jupiter currently has 79. Jupiter has 62. Sorry, Saturn has 62. Interestingly, from what I've read, 9 of those 62 moons of Saturn aren't even named yet, which is kind of interesting. But that's this episode's nerd alert, so let's get back into the game, get back into planning mode here. So we have a plan for 3 offices, and a yard, and all the stuff needed for it. So let's go ahead and start building this. Let's click foundations, turn off auto lights, because auto lights are stupid. And we'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and do all the administrative stuff. We'll do holding still to administrative, and then we'll build down this way. So let's go ahead and try to sort of zoom out as much as we can. Let's get this. If we do that, that'll work just fine. Let's pause this here. Objects. We need a jail door. Or is it? They just call it a cell door. Okay. That's going to be hard to remember. So a cell door there. Actually no, everything else is fine. So let's go ahead and don't really need anything else right now while they're still building. Let's go ahead and move this down. Click on foundations one more time and have them finish the last of that. Then we can go this way. No, I think some of the mods might still be on. I don't remember to turn those off though, so oh well. The only one I ever really used was auto build, but yeah. I'll try to see if I can turn that off before season 3. Season 2, I'm not too worried about it. It's more of experiencing Word mode than it is building everything. Let's go ahead and put that. And then we can do materials, concrete wall, because it costs 10 less per square. See, and there's that. All built up and ready to go. Let's go ahead and speed up. Whee! Let's try and get everything sort of built. Yeah, and so I have fog of war turned on, so I can't see most of what's inside my prison. So it's essentially my view as a warden is just like how in escape mode, and that's the only thing I had that made it harder on this game mode than easier. A couple other things that essentially made it a little bit easier. I think some of those were what were some of them? I think I made it so that way prisoners don't get released, so I don't have to worry about parole. I have to worry about prisoners leaving. I can just fill the spaces. I know they'll be there. What else did I do? I can't remember anymore. So they've almost finished putting this together. And they've also finished a lot of the walls. I still have a decent amount of money. once they finish this up, I'll go ahead and start building insides. And there's that. There's probably a couple. Wait, there it goes. So I'm going to pause it here. And so now I need to go here. Scroll down a little bit. Demolish walls. And I need you to demolish those walls. And then I'll sort of do my little sprinting thing. And then we also want to demolish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 these walls. And then how did I get out of that? I didn't want to get out of that. I wanted to continue doing this. And I'll actually pause it here and say build me my offices. I'll also do the same for reception. And this stuff. Shouldn't this have started costing me money? I might have to look into this before the end of the video. I'm just glad we were able to get into building before the end of this video. I expect to pretty much almost get, there it goes, to almost sort of get stuck in planning mode, because that is something that probably ends up happening a lot more often than you think. Usually want to spend a lot of time planning, and I like to go in sort of plan as much as I can. But getting this sort of first cell wall thing, it's a sort of cell block in there so we can start allowing ourselves to sort of plan, sort of start making money instead of just in planning mode for 3 episodes. Because with the type of gameplay I do, it's perfectly possible that that could be something that occurs. So I'm not too worried about it right now. We're going good, building all the walls inside. And so another mode I turned on, I think under mutations, is I put fast deliveries. So things that you sort of buy will sort of show up right away. They don't have to show up by the thing, because of when I do big expansions, that it gets really, really annoying. It sort of stacks up, and they do the same path as when you intake from prisoners. And so with it being sort of that annoyance, I just decided to not to have that turned off. That way it makes it easier to sort of build things while still having intake, expand while still getting prisoners. So let's go ahead and go to utilities, power station. So this is the edge. Okay, so this power station right there. And then I'm gonna spend 2,000 because there's that, and then there's those 2. And then I'll also go ahead and put the water pump down, even though it's not connected yet, like that. That definitely is half. So I'm gonna pause this real quick and see if I can figure this out. Extras, mods. I guess I can. So really, I've never actually seen that used. Interesting. Let's turn that off. Let's turn off this stuff. Revolver guards. What the hell is this? Equips guard with revolvers. Really? Because they never use them. Turn off road centers. Snitch sorter I will sort of keep. Principal turn off. And then so yeah, these 2. The mod and the snitch sorter. Snitch sorter doesn't really sort of It says what it sounds like. Go ahead and hit play. As we approach the 20-minute mark of the video. Come on. There it goes. I know. There we go. So now things take time to build. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here. Thank you all for watching. If you liked it, go ahead and hit the like button. If you want to see more of my videos, hear more nerd alerts, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Spaceman Josh, out.